Check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Give me a second here. Yeah. Oh, gosh darn it, son of a gun. Hello, everyone. Chief Meteorologist James Zahara here in the Storm Track 8 Weather Center. We're keeping an eye on some clusters of thunderstorms making its way around the immediate Quad Cities. The biggest concern that we're noticing here is a tornado warning or some possible rotation going on just west of the Quad City International Airport and between Andalusia. This goes on until about 10:30, so definitely over a half an hour's worth of warning that we may be talking about here. And it does include areas right around Andalusia and Moline. So what we'll do here is we'll make our way right through this area. And likely the reason we're seeing this potential tornado warning is because of some strong low-level winds that are making to kind of turn this part of these thunderstorms in motion, and thus likely seeing a possibility of maybe a tornado on the ground. We're going to velocity mode here, and this is really going to be a challenge just because of the area we're talking about. Let me see if I can get some information here, but this was about maybe, I'd say, less than 10 minutes ago that a thunderstorm was capable of some type of rotation around Buffalo or just near Rock Island itself and moving very slowly out of the southeast at around 10 miles an hour or so. Of course, a whole cluster of storms that we have been noticing around the area have been moving very slowly and packing some pretty good rainfall to go with it as well. Not surprised given the amount of Gulf moisture that we're seeing across the area, not just here locally around the immediate Quad Cities, but like we've been noticing in hometowns just north of the Quad Cities. So this is the warning that we have issued until around 10:30 or so. Very challenging to see as to where this rotation actually is taking place. But if by just looking at the reflectivity mode itself, I would say, and let me get an arrow in here, my little arrow, here's my little handy arrow. We may be talking about either in two areas, a little couplet maybe just around Illinois 92, possibly even right here as well. And I think that area is just near 77th, I believe. I'm just zooming in even more so. So really out of these two areas, I would say the most logical area we're seeing, and once again, this is reflectivity mode, maybe right here, just west of Turkey Hollow Road, right there, and just east of 114th Avenue, just to the west. Like I said, this is moving off to the southeast, but moving very slowly around 10 miles an hour or so. Once again, if I went ahead and I put the velocity mode on, it is very difficult to see exactly where this particular rotation may be taking place. But I would say, being so close to the radar itself, we may be talking in this general area right here for that possibility of a possible tornado that may be on the ground. So if you're hearing the sirens, naturally get into your safe place. That's the best place you can be right now. Of course, very challenging to even try to look out to see if there is any type of a confirmation when it comes to this particular situation, just because it's dark out there. So we're a little concerned about that with this particular part of the storm as it continues to make its way, and I'm going to put the motion on here, 15-minute motion, kind of moving from northwest to southeast. So Coyne Center, I think you're going to be fine. I really think it's going to be, it's really that particular area right there. When you put it in motion, you kind of get a good idea of where that possible rotation may be taking place. So keep in mind, we're kind of going to be, we've been dealing with this situation really throughout most of the evening, especially areas to our north, but now we're seeing that now in immediate quad cities when you're dealing with these rain-loaded downdrafts coming down from the storm itself and then allowing to push that air so quickly that it can produce damage. Now, we certainly had reports of that, even areas to our north, like around Thompson, even around Mount Carroll, had reports of some trees down, power lines that are down, some roadways around Thompson actually closed off because of some of the tree damage that took place. And it's kind of like we're seeing right here as well, where in this case, the only exception is we've got a strong low-level wind, we call low-level jet, and it's allowing it to turn within these rain-loaded downdrafts that are going on. So the combination of those two elements there are helping to kind of turn that wind a little bit. And that's probably what we've been noticing. Maybe it's, of course, a challenge when you see it on the velocity mode. But here in this reflectivity mode, we're kind of getting a little bit of a sense of what we could be taking place. Now, like I said, on the radar itself, there's only so much that you can see. But likely we're seeing some type of a couplet, some type of little rotation there, and possibly we might be seeing even a little bit of some rotation right here as well. But on the velocity mode, it's really been a challenge. No question we're getting some very heavy rain here, and that's taking place within this cluster of storms that continues to make its way off to the south and east. So once again, if you're hearing the sirens in this tornado warning around Andalusia, but mostly south of that, I would say get to your safe place right away. And if we had to go ahead and kind of extend this a little bit more, and I'm going to go ahead and put a tracker on this, because why? We track storms, ladies and gentlemen. And we'll go ahead and put this in motion here. I think it's kind of moving in this general direction like so, okay? Now, not saying that the warning is going to continue. My guess is that it's not going to extend even any further. That's kind of my hunch on this. But you can see in the upper right-hand corner, I'll move it down a little bit. If this part of the storm continues to move the way it's doing, then we're talking about preemption, Cable, and Sedona, that you'll be under this part of the storm itself. Hopefully, not the part that we're seeing some type of maybe possible rotation that may be taking place. Okay, so be on guard if you are in parts just east of Reynolds, east of Matherville, around Preemption, Sedona. Be on the lookout for that part of the storm as it continues to make its way off to the south and east. And like I said, it's been a very busy evening out here, especially in hometowns even north of the Quad Cities. So I want to kind of extend this out because this cluster of storm activity kind of lessens a little bit in the form of just rains and clap of thunder as you make your way east on Interstate 80, outside of Geneseo, even around Anawan. And now here we go. We got another tornado warning that just popped up north and west of the Princeton area. And I'm going to get some information on that as well. Rotation actually continues to cycle now just actually north of Wyanett. Closely watching the longevity of these to gauge the downstream warnings. Seems to be some rapid cycling, but maybe somewhat short-lived rotation, kind of similar to what we're noticing around the immediate Quad Cities. Let me try and make my way over there, and we'll zoom in. So this is the tornado warning, and I'll get the information on that here in a second. Till about, looks like 10:15. A tornado warning remains in effect till 10:15 for parts of Bureau County. Let's see, we can go ahead and get the details on this here. So graphically, you can see it. And there it is. So for Dover, Malden, and once again, even around Princeton, you're probably hearing sirens right now. So this is definitely a time to get to your safe place. I'm going to go to the velocity mode. Let's see if we can get some help on this here. And going to get an idea as to where our rotation is actually taking place. A little bit of a challenge on this one as well. I would say, let me go back to the reflectivity mode again and put this in motion and get an idea what we're looking at till 10:15. So I would think that that part has really kind of made its way just west of the Princeton area. And I would say it's probably going to be right about, excuse me, right about here, I would say. We're looking right around Wynot. Okay, there's Wynot right there. So some possible rotation. We got the green going toward the radar site. We got the red going away. And that's probably where we're seeing some of that rotation as it makes its way south and east. So friends in Tiscua, I've been to Tiscua many a times. Great people out there. I would say make sure that you are getting to your safe place, because where we're seeing that rotation here on the velocity mode, okay, once again, we're looking at this area right here. It's kind of aiming right toward Tiscua itself, okay? So if you're watching us in Tiscua, time to get to your safe place immediately, okay? Once again, let's go ahead and get that area up there. Now, it's kind of interesting that Tiscua, you're not actually in the part of that rotation that we're seeing, but certainly be advised about that, because that's kind of what I'm looking at here on the radar loop itself. Once again, I'm kind of in the reflectivity mode here, and I would say that seems to be a good bet that we could be seeing that rotation in that general area. There is something I'm seeing right on top of Princeton itself, but Nick, there's a possibility there as well, but looks like there is some type of rotation that's trying to cycle itself just around Princeton and just north of Tiscua, okay? So once again, still a very strong, intense part of the storm that we're noticing here, certainly indicative of the amount of lightning that we're seeing right in this particular area alone. So you kind of look for the core of that lightning, and that kind of gives us an idea as to where that potential rotation may be taking place. So there's your polygon that we're seeing here, and kind of zooming in even more so. So right around Princeton to Wynot, I would say that's the area that we definitely have to be concerned about. The good news is that the tornado warning, and no surprise about this, the tornado warning for parts of Rock Island County, that has been canceled. And then let's see what they're saying here. Okay, so going back to, real quick here, going back to the Rock Island County area, you can see right here, this was a storm that had some type of rotation going on due to our low-level wind that helped produce that broad rotation, but now they have canceled it, so it must have been a very short-lived event. Now, what's going to happen here, likely, and I'm thinking about our hometowns more south of that, is that it's going to probably leave behind some of these outflow boundaries, this air that comes down from the storm itself, and that could help allow these storms that we're seeing here to extend even more to the south as we head overnight. So let me put this in motion, and I'll explain what I'm talking about here. Okay, so I would say, and I'll put a tracker on this as well. Let's see, we're going about here, and we're going about there. And it looks like if it continues to move, and like I said, I think this is going to hold together. I don't believe we'll get any type of rotation out of this, but still it's a pretty healthy thunderstorm that continues to move generally in this direction itself. So if you're watching us in Matherville, if you're watching us in New Windsor, if you're watching us in Woodhull and Rio, okay, in northern Knox County, you're going to be impacted by this storm. I don't believe that storm is going to really fall apart as we make our way into the next half an hour or so, okay? So just keep that in mind. If I mentioned your town with that part of that storm, it continues to make its way off toward the north and east. So this is really the area that we're keeping an eye on. Let me see if I can go ahead and erase all this here, okay? I want to point out, too, that throughout the, like I said, evening hours, and I'll extend this out a little bit more, we've been seeing some very, very heavy rain in areas, especially off to our north. Things have really quieted down, especially on Highway 30. That's right around Clinton, Sterling Rock Falls, and points northward. See if I can get this up here. But this was an area where, just from these storms alone, has produced about 3 to even 5 inches of rain. That's indicated by the orange area. I've had a lot of reports sent in to me on my Facebook page by some of the viewers, which thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I had an estimate of about 4.5, 4 3/4 between Savannah and Thompson, especially just north of Thompson itself. And this was where we did see not only some very heavy rain, but I want to point out too that they've been seeing had some very strong rain-loaded downdrafts that produced some power outages. Some multiple power poles, of course, have been reported down. Parts of Route 84 has been closed. Not sure if that has been reopened, but several farm irrigators being knocked over, plenty of trees that have been knocked down as well. And even more reports that came in places like around Clinton as well as around Fulton with some of the very heavy rain that came down in a very short period of time. 1 to 2 feet of standing water just around 16th Avenue, north in Clinton. Had some flowing water, high, at least a half a foot, reported around Fulton, and even had some wind that caused a couple of trees to come down on a vehicle over in Fulton as well. And I think I have one more report. Our friends out in Mount Carroll in Carroll County had reports of not only some quarter-size hail, but also got reports of lots of trees down throughout the area as well. Not sure if that also included any power outages as well. I'll eventually get, okay, we got some flooding video. Bobby, where is this flooding video at? Downtown Moline, right there, right where the Vibrant Arena is. Vibrant Arena, yep, there it is. Not surprised, yeah, not surprised. This is an area where we normally see some street flooding that would take place around here, especially when you're dealing with maybe a quick inch of rain. And yeah, we've seen that before, that's for sure. And so it's gonna take a while before that water subside. So certainly avoid downtown Moline if you can. That rain, we've heard it outside our station here. We're up the hill from the downtown. It was really coming down in a big way, that's for sure. So thanks so much on that video. That is some serious water. It looks like a good 1.5 feet, I would say. And some good surfing water with that too, especially with that big semi that just went on through. So thanks so much on that video as well. So once again, let's get back to the radar itself and see if we have any more of those warnings that are taking place around the area. Let me see if I can get back to areas to our areas to our west here and make sure that we're doing okay. John, understand now, do you have any information regarding power outages that took place or customers that are still without power?
Yeah, we are, and you can see this on my screen if you guys can take my PC here. We have been watching the number of power outages in the Quad Cities area, on both sides of the river, just kind of climb up right now. We were probably, when we came on the air, maybe 350 outages. That number now up to 490, if I'm doing that math right. So it is climbing. And so we're really seeing the effects of this. And just going back very quickly to the amount of rain that we've seen, we are seeing reports of flooding not only in Moline, we showed you those images, and we have a reporter on the way to kind of check that out in more detail, but in other parts, even in Illinois, in Morrison, we got messages saying that their roads, cars and homes were flooded. Those, we haven't confirmed that yet ourselves, but those are the reports that we're getting from some of our viewers who are sending us messages about what's going on.
All right, thank you, John. I'm actually going to try and see if I can even get some tallies here regarding the amount of rainfall we've seen in some of the rain gauges around town here. Give me a second. I'm going to pop up one over right here in Moline, and I'll make my way around Davenport as well. And nothing really has been updated, but by all that rain that we saw in the immediate Quad Cities, I would not be surprised if we had a quick inch of rain that fell in the Quad Cities. And of course, when you're dealing with so much of that rain falling in a very short period of time, combined with the limited, drainage that we have in downtown, it's very hard to kind of get rid of all that rain on the streets. And that's probably why we're seeing that high water take place. Seen that so many times in situations when you're dealing with some very heavy rain that comes down in a very short period of time. Once again, we do have just our one warning out, but unfortunately it's a tornado warning still in progress for another, looks like 5 more minutes over in parts of Bureau County, which does include the Princeton area. Also the possibility of maybe even some hail that may be falling as well. A little hard to determine that because of the green that's moving toward the radar site and the red. So I would say we're kind of still looking generally just west of town itself, maybe for that possibility of seeing some type of rotation that may be going on. Of course, another thing we got to be keeping an eye on too is any type of hail that may be going on. Hail probability sitting pretty much right on top of Princeton itself. But I would say maybe the worst case scenario out of this is likely in the form of some pea-sized hail that may be going on. So really the big concern we're noticing in parts of Bureau County is some very heavy rain. You will be getting some high water, some street flooding in some areas and poor drainage areas that cannot be ruled out, especially outside of Interstate 80, right in the Wynette area, the Princeton area. Keep in mind, Dover, I would say, you're going to be seeing some high water. We might even be talking about, hopefully your basement is in good shape, making sure that that water is getting out of there. But it's going to be kind of a mess going into the rest of the night as these storms are moving very slowly off toward the south and east. So that is the only warning that we have going on. Still some drenching rains that are taking place in parts of Henry County, now just south of Geneseo, east of, looks like Illinois 82, so Atkinson, Anawan, you're seeing some of that very heavy rain. Cambridge, you're right now doing okay, but you got some more of that rain on the way. And if we had to go and put some motion on this, some movement on this storm, you can see that in your case, looks like you'll get some steady rains, but nothing too heavy like we're noticing just north and east of town for you. So I think you'll be looking pretty good there. But you can see some more of that rain coming down, some pretty good lightning. These are just some drenching thunderstorms that are continuing to make their way off to the south and east. So if you're watching us in Orion, you're going to get dumped down here pretty soon. Sherrard, no question, you're going to be seeing some very heavy rain. And once again, poor drainage areas, you're going to start seeing that water begin to accumulate as well. And probably you're noticing here too, and this is going to be very common, I would say even going into tomorrow as well. There's a good possibility. You can see the green here, and that's representing a flash flood warning that is out. See if I get some information here on that. The flash flood warning, of course, covers the entire immediate Quad Cities itself, and this until 4:15 a.m. Let me see if I can get a graphic on there too. My query, put on the query, and there we go. Okay, and this goes until 4:15, includes the entire Quad Cities itself. This has been an area where they're saying maybe about 2 to 4 inches of rain has possibly fallen here in the immediate Quad Cities. Now that's really impressive. I think the heaviest of that rainfall might have taken place just south and I would say from Davenport to Rock Island and parts of Moline, I would say, but Davenport and Rock Island especially might have had the higher amounts, and that has led to let's see here, has led to about 2 to 3 feet of water, which we just showed you in downtown Moline itself. Like I said, not surprised about that. We still could get another inch of rain before things begin to die off. But once again, if you're dealing with so much of that rain in a very short period of time, there's just no place for the water to go. Why are we seeing such high rainfall amounts? It's not just with these storms that we've been noticing in the past 45 minutes, but even the high water rainfall amounts that we had to our north. It's all about the Gulf moisture. Anytime we're reporting in, we're going to talk about some rain or drenching rains, drenching thunderstorms, you're going to see some pretty good rainfall amounts. And that's kind of what we're anticipating even as we head into tomorrow as well. There is a really good chance we could be seeing more of these same type of rains, more of these same type of thunderstorms, and maybe the possibility of some strong rain-loaded downdrafts that can produce some very intense winds, like we saw in some of our hometowns around Thompson and even around Mount Carroll earlier on this evening. So these are the warnings that we're looking at. Once again, we continue to monitor not only that flash flood warning to around the immediate Quad Cities, but also we're noticing some of the flash flood warnings areas to our north. Now, of course, the rain has come to an end, but we're dealing with all that water that's now running into the rivers, creeks, and streams, the smaller rivers, creeks, and streams that are going to get high. And so you want to be extra careful about that, especially in areas where there's maybe some camping sites. Okay, hopefully the sirens are going off in those areas, and hopefully you're making yourself into some higher ground. And then you can see even this flash flood warning out for parts of Joe Davie County as well. Okay, so we got several flash flood warnings out that go into the wee hours of the morning. Likely those warnings that we're seeing will eventually kind of expire, or they'll be canceled possibly sometime maybe even after midnight. So as the water recedes, then the warnings will very likely be canceled. We've seen that with flash flood warnings before. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on that after midnight, and certainly have some more information for you on that come on Good Morning Quad Cities starting around 4:30 as well. Once again, this is our tornado warning. I think this is looks like they extended the tornado warning till about 11 o'clock now. We're going to be here until 11 o'clock before the threat is all said and done, or that the National Weather Service, the ones that issue these warnings, actually cancel it. Now, it's moving pretty quickly, so let's kind of get some information here. But Princeton, but Tiscawah, as we mentioned before, no surprise that you're getting involved in some of this possible rotation that may be going on. We'll go to the reflectivity mode here. And yeah, I would say that if we're seeing the rotation, it's right there. Okay, I would say just north of Tiscawah, between Tiscawah and Princeton. That's probably where we're seeing that rotation actually take place. Going zoom in even more so. So that's probably what we're dealing with right now with this potential rotation that may be going on with these storms. But like we've been noticing in the past half an hour, these have been kind of short-lived. The duration of these have not been too long, too intense, like we've been noticing with that one particular storm in Rock Island. Didn't last all too long. We could very likely be dealing with the same situation with this storm, or that may be producing some of that rotation as well. So once again, this storm is moving off to the south and east. Let me get even more details on that from our friends at the National Weather Service. That a possible tornado was near the Bureau County Fairgrounds, moving to the southeast about 20 miles an hour or so. So once that kind of moves its way out of our viewing area, then we'll likely give the all clear on that. But as I move out, you can see the nice distinction with the green and the red, likely that rotation between, like we said, between Tiscawah and Princeton continues to make his way off to the south and east. Looks like hopefully it stays in the open areas between Princeton and Tiscawah as we go through the next 15 minutes or so, okay? So that's what we're going to be, once again, keep an eye on going in the next 15 or 20 minutes. If you are just joining us, of course, we've been keeping an eye on a lot of these storms that are making their way through the area, likely coming from the storms that were taking place earlier this evening in areas to our north. So these have produced some nice outflow boundaries and extending those storms a bit more south and west, like we've been noticing right along the immediate Quad Cities and points eastward. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. And likely, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, that these storms, you can see the concentration of the lightning that we see just near the Quad City International Airport and points southward. It's really holding together. It's a good sign that these particular storms, this particular part of the storm, I should say, is going to hold together as that continues to make his way off toward the south and east. Let's see here. I'm talking to my producer here. Let's go and take a look at downtown Moline and show you the water that has been awfully high, or it's a big improvement, I would say. Big improvement compared to what we saw about maybe, 15 minutes ago?
think so, James. I mean,
My
at this point,
goodness.
cars are able to move through without a lot of that splashing water. But I don't know if we can take a shot of my PC here, guys, just so you can see some of the damage that was caused. This is just moments ago. This is a bar in downtown Moline. You can see the water's getting
Oh
inside.
my goodness, wow.
And that was from when it was at that highest level. That video we showed you earlier, that's kind of a view through the window, through the door outside, so you can see. Yeah, and we're getting reports that there are actually cars stuck on River Drive right now, which underscores the importance of not driving through this. Of course, if you were out and weren't expecting this, it sometimes becomes unavoidable. You're sometimes just caught in the middle of it, which is what could have happened here.
Now, what's probably interesting here, John, is, yeah, you can see that it doesn't look like there's much water where those cars are, but probably those cars have probably been there for about half an hour or so.
Sure, yeah.
Because of that rain that took place where we had, what was the report, about 2 to 3 feet of water, at least on River Drive itself. So when that was taking place, certainly some of those cars that we saw got stuck and likely have not been moved since. But we are showing signs that the water has really receded enough, just right of that. But you get a much better view. We're kind of opening up the iris a little bit so you can see, yeah, there's still some pretty decent water there that's covering like that van that we see on that one car. So still some pretty decent water that we're noticing right there. And I think that guy that's driving in is probably second guessing about going through or he's going to take a right.
Well, and you can see, the in the foreground, it's just wet pavement there.
Yeah, yeah.
But once you get a little bit past that, these cars are really kind of figuring out, oh, darn, that's pretty deep water. And it looks like some are actually trying to go around.
Yeah, looks like that guy's going to come, maybe go back and eventually make his way.
And I think that's almost a smart choice at that point. Maybe shouldn't have driven in it, but now is not going to drive further into it, knows to get out and sort of back out here.
Yeah, turn around, don't drown. That's the kind of thing that we're seeing there. But, in these situations, when you see high water, don't take that risk. Just turn around, find another detour, another way to get to your destination is probably the best thing. Don't kind of, be a hero in trying to get through that water. It may take a while before that part of the street that we see in downtown Moline actually begins to recede. But by the looks of it, John, that water in the near future is not going anywhere.
Right. Yeah, and we saw it. I mean, I opened the door, and I don't know if you were able to catch it. You were on the air, James, but that rain, and you saw it on the radar, obviously, was coming down so hard.
Yes.
The wind was whipping through the area, and it just sort of, for a moment there, felt like it was just camped out right above us.
That's right, yeah. And now what we're kind of dealing with here is not only are we dealing with some of the heavy rain, but this is something I was just talking about with this cluster of storms that's still holding together. So we've got a new warning out. This is a severe thunderstorm warning. I'm going to try and get some information on that here in just a second. Let's see here. I'm going to go here and here. We're going to pop this up. I haven't gotten the details yet, except for the fact that this is a severe thunderstorm warning that goes until 11:30. Not only did we talk about Woodhull and Orient, but Galva and even around Andover. So let's kind of put a tracker on this if we can. And if I can kind of get the gist of this right here and there, and we'll move that in this general direction that we're seeing here, John. I think it's kind of moving a bit more south and east than east-southeast. I would say right about there. And timing here is all critical, of course. If you're in this warning, like around Alpha, we're talking about just over 10 minutes from you. Woodhull, we're talking about maybe about just over 15 minutes. And even around Oneida in Rova Country, that's in northern Knox County, we're talking about maybe about 30 minutes, a half an hour for you before those storms impact you. A lot of lightning ahead of the storm, but right after that, we are dealing with some very heavy rain. And what's interesting, too, here is the thickness of this polygon that we're noticing here, too, John, is that is an indication that there could potentially be, with the storm, might be recycling again to bring in some more of that rotation back into the picture for a possible another brief tornado or so. So let me go ahead and put this rotation back on here, kind of put a loop on here. Nothing really kind of sticks out as to what we may see here. Let me put back the warning itself, and it doesn't really kind of indicate to me here any type of maybe any possible rotation that may be going on, but we may be talking about somewhere right in this general area of some broad rotation that may be going on. The big concern here is, this is a very dangerous situation. We're talking about not only this rain coming down very quickly, but it's pushing the air ahead of it. So even though it may not be turning, it certainly is coming down in a very vigorous way, enough that it could cause some potential power lines to come down, brief power outages that may take place, or even some tree limbs that could be broken as well with this part of the storm that is continuing to make its way off to the south and east. So that's the warning that we have going on with this one, severe thunderstorm warning. Once again, that is until 11:30 for those storms and for parts of southwestern Henry County, and eventually will be making its way into northern Knox County, even though in northern Knox County, we don't have any warnings as of yet. But like I said before, this part of the storm is really holding itself together nicely and will very likely extend even farther southward as we make our way even before midnight itself. So we have several warnings that are going on out here. We have the severe thunderstorm warning in that general area. We have the flash flood warning for parts of the immediate Quad Cities. That is until 4:15. Because of this area, we've had about 2 to as high as 4 inches of rain. As we showed you with the video in downtown Moline, about 2 to 3 feet of water has accumulated in downtown Moline, right there at the Vibrant Arena itself. We've been noticing parts of that road has been inundated with water. There have been at least a couple of automobiles that have been stuck in that water for the past half an hour or so. That's a live shot in downtown Moline, and you can see a couple of those cars still stuck in that high water. It was much higher. It was much higher about maybe 20 minutes ago or so. And now that rain has kind of subsided in downtown Moline, but you can see how that water, even just left of that, right there on the sidewalk, that water has even extended even more. And as we showed you with some of the video, has impacted at least one business out there with some water in their business itself, on the floor itself. So that is right around the Vibrant Arena, right where the tower is right there. That we see, that's where the highest of the water is taking place. So people are trying to avoid that area. If you need to get, if your destination takes you around there, find that detour. There are plenty of streets just south of that where you can actually make your way around that high water. But certainly don't want to try and drive through it. Some people are going to trying to do that itself, maybe going to go and back up and then turn around. That's the best thing you can do right now. And it looks like we are starting to see that rain come down just a little bit more again in areas just to the downtown and just pointed to the west of that. In fact, you can see here as I make my way into downtown Moline itself, yeah, we're still starting to see that rain still coming down pretty good. Going about last 15 minutes or so on the radar loop here. And yeah, you can kind of see how that rain has really picked up once again. Once again, we're kind of dealing with some pretty good rain that has really redeveloped right there in downtown Moline itself. So once that moves on out, then things will subside, and maybe the next couple of hours or so, we'll start seeing parts of downtown Moline where the high water is still taking place. We'll also see that begin to recede as well. John, what do you got for me over there?
Yeah, we're still seeing these power outages creep up a little bit. We're up to 502 in the Quad Cities on both sides of the river. But we do know crews are out there working as we check the status of some of these outages, especially the ones that are not just one-offs, but that involve dozens of customers in kind of one area. Already crews are out there working, so we know Mid-American is aware of this, obviously, and then trying to get the power back up as quickly as they can. But sometimes that can be tough when you're in the middle of this activity that's happening right above us.
Right, right. And of course, we've got some many people in our booth right now kind of giving us direction as far as where to go and such. And I'm going to talk to Bobby again. Bobby, once again, what kind of information that you were going to actually show off? Okay, let's go back to the flooding once again, because that's really making some big news. If you've been a resident in the Quad Cities for a number of years, especially in downtown Moline, you know that when you get these very heavy rainfall events, some of the water right there in downtown Moline really has no place to go. And this is usually prime for some high water develop. I remember there was a concert that took place in the quad at the arena a long time ago, and there was water that was about good 3 to 4 feet deep. And that's kind of what we're seeing right here. You can see parts of downtown not looking too bad, but where you see those cars, and it was about maybe a half an hour ago or so, that water was much, much higher. And so you can see it's just now more standing water than anything else. So it's certainly an area you definitely want to avoid as we make our way into the rest of the nighttime. It may take at least a couple of hours. Go ahead, Bobby. What did you say? Yeah, here's some pictures that we've gotten from viewers, and we thank you so much, by the way, for these pictures. And John, that looked like a nice little mothership that was taking place right there. And some pretty good lightning that has been going on, especially just around the Princeton area. Once again, this is out of Providence. Charles, thank you so much. Once again, impressive, a nice little, beautiful supercell thunderstorm that we see here. The whole storm itself just rotating itself and kind of producing that effect that we see right there. So guys, thank you so much for sending these pictures in. And of course, you can, John, they can certainly send more pictures in or even videos to our website.
Yeah, send them. You can email them at news@wqad.com. You can text them to us, 309-304-0888. Or if you have the Storm Track 8 app or the News 8 app, you can send them directly through that process as well. And you talk about this all the time, James. You know, there's only so much you can get from a radar. You kind of need to sometimes see what's going on out there to kind of get a real sense of the impact of all of this. And so... Right. But when we say, hey, send us these pictures, we got to be clear, don't put yourself in harm's way.
Exactly.
Don't try to catch a really cool picture and end up not maybe in your basement where you should be at any given moment, or out driving through flooded waters just to get a shot of flooded waters.
Right. I mean, there's only so many street lights that are out there, for one thing.
Yeah. And
so you definitely want to avoid that. But when we're noticing the rainfall estimates around here showing those 2, 3, 4 inches of rain, kind of like we saw just north of the Quad Cities around the Clinton area, you certainly don't want to take that chance and drive around town. If you hear about flash flood warnings in your hometown, you definitely want to certainly avoid that, okay? And then when you want to, in these situations, because it's now dark, you don't want to go out there and try to look for, just as when it comes to the lightning or when it comes to the heavy rain, or more importantly in this situation, looking for a possible tornado from the sky itself. It is way, way too dangerous to do that. Let the experts take care of that as far as that is concerned, because you just don't want to be in that situation. Kind of like we're dealing with right here now, just I would say just north and east of Princeton, as we're seeing some of that circulation taking place right in this general area, but continues to make its way off to the south and east. That's some good news that we're seeing here, John, is that it's actually going between Tuscarawas and Princeton itself, making its way off to the south and east. I would say our folks in Hennepin may be under the gun with that possible circulation when it comes to that storm itself. So that's a tornado warning that we have right there that goes until, I believe it was 11 o'clock or so. It's going to pop it up here, 11 p.m., okay? So right now we're seeing that circulation just east of Tuscarawas itself, but still some very heavy rain still needs to make its way through the town itself. As you can see, look at this channel of rain that we're seeing here. My goodness, if we went ahead and kind of put that in motion, this goes in the past hour or so, and you can see how this rain not moving very quickly. So you're going to get some pretty good rainfall amounts out of this. In fact, I'm going to see if I can find out the latest rainfall amounts just by these storms that we've been noticing here. And things have certainly changed in a big way here, where the heaviest of the rain took place during the evening hours in areas just around Highway 30, right near Clinton and Savannah. Had reports of 4.5 to 4 3/4 inches of rain. That's indicated by the orange that we're seeing right here from between Savannah and Clinton. And then that extends even more to the east, going into parts of Carroll County around Mount Carroll. They had reports of some very heavy rain there as well, and extends eastward going into Milledgeville. And then, of course, in Buffalo, Illinois, we had reports of rainfall amounts around 4 inches of rain. Of course, we're starting to notice that those amounts as well in areas right around the immediate Quad Cities. I'll kind of make my way to the south of that. And you can see, and this is brand new stuff here that's coming out of the immediate Quad Cities. This is going to change as well. But anywhere you're seeing that yellow, that's at least 2 to 3 inches of rain, likely in the next maybe 20 minutes to half an hour or so. We're going to see this area change as well. But anywhere you see the yellow, at least 2 to 3 inches of rain that has fallen in just about a half an hour or 40 minutes. So once again, you're dealing with all that rain that comes down in a very short period of time. You're going to be dealing with some high water out there. Hopefully your sump pump is working. I mean, goodness, when you're dealing with these situations, it's not a pleasant sight to see, to go down in the basement and see some of that water from these rains that took place. But no question, some pretty good rains out of here. And now we're beginning to see some of those heavy rainfall amounts of 2 to 3 inches just north of Interstate 80, just northwest of Princeton. So once again, likely we're going to be seeing those amounts kind of pick up a bit more in those areas that we're seeing right here. So really impressive rainfall amounts. Now, one of the things I mentioned here too, and I just want, before I go there, I just want to make sure that we have an update on this severe thunderstorm warning. And I'm going to pop this up here in just a little bit. Okay, this is a new severe thunderstorm warning. And once again, I'm not surprised going into Rova country there in northern Knox until 11:30 p.m. So around Altona, Oneida. Not only are we dealing with some rain-loaded downdrafts that can produce winds maybe upwards of 60 miles an hour, maybe some temporary power outages, but a possibility is even some quarter-size hail that could be coming out of there as well. That is until about 11:30 or so. Let me just first check the hail probability. That's some pretty good hail that may be falling just outside of Woodhull, west of Interstate 74. I still believe that may be more pea size or even dime size that could be taking place there. So that's kind of showing us the hail probability itself. As far as the winds are concerned, well, right here on our velocity mode here, it is showing some pretty decent wind indicated by the red shade of the area. I don't see much as far as any really broad rotation. There could be something taking place, or at least showing maybe a sign of that. You can see some nice bright red here, a little green. There could be something just west of Woodhull itself, but it doesn't look very impressive to me at all. So nonetheless, something to keep an eye on, but you can see where all that heavy rain may be taking place, but also some little couplets, indentations here that could be an indication of maybe some possible broad rotation. That's why we're seeing these polygons, the thickness of them, just a little bit different that we're seeing here. So for example, as we put this, put the warnings back on, in the upper right-hand corner, with the help of our algorithms, they can actually determine that, not only are we getting some very heavy rain, some vivid lightning out of this, maybe a good rush of wind, but also maybe some broad rotation. And that's telling us that our algorithm is showing that maybe a tornado development is certainly possible given what I just showed you just west of Woodhull itself, okay? Whereas if you go a little bit farther down to the south and east, okay, and you look at the banner on the upper right-hand corner, you don't see that because the algorithms are saying to us that, yes, you're going to get some very heavy rain, some lightning, a good rush of wind, but nothing that is going to be that intense or enough to cause any type of spin. So that is some good news there. John, I think we got some more pictures to show.
Yeah, we're getting a lot in, so that's fantastic.
Video,
this is Dennis in Kewanee, and you can just sort of see the lightning strikes. And on your maps, on your radar, James, you have the kind of the lightning counter there. But this kind of gives you a really good visual. And it's so impressive, obviously, if you're seeing this above your home. And in some cases, not in this video, but in other videos that we've received, you know, you can see the lightning in the distance, even though it's dry on the ground, but you know it's sort of coming toward you. So that's certainly been very impressive to see. So we're grateful for everyone who's sending these photographs and videos in. There you go. You see it.
Wow.
Quiet right above that home, but what a spectacular light show happening off.
Oh, very much so. Very much. This would be me on the front porch just watching all this before things got really bad.
Yeah, and then you got to run
my
inside.
way to my safe place. There's no warning out for, of course, the Kewaunee area, but certainly you can see now getting ready to making his way in town. Some very heavy rain, of course. The lightning that is going on as well. And given the reports that we've been seeing from this particular line itself, you're going to get some very heavy rain that may be upwards of at least 1 or 2 inches of rain out of this. And you can see where the most intense part of that storm is just outside of town and making its way right through Kewaunee itself. That continues to make its way off to the south and east. So let's see. So those are the updates that we have as far as all the warnings are concerned. What's really something to keep in mind, folks, is we're not quite done yet. I'm going to just kind of expand this picture out a little bit because we still have a chance for seeing some more of these rain-loaded downdrafts that can produce not only some very heavy rainfall in a very short period of time, but it can also produce some intense wind gusts to go with it as well. Very similar to what we're dealing with tonight, okay? And there is a possibility that a little low-level wind, a low-level jet, we like to call it, may be just enough that we could be talking about maybe a brief tornado, kind of like we've been dealing with this evening as well. So it may be a kind of a curtain call going in toward later tomorrow afternoon into the evening hours for that effect to be taking place. So that's why we have our weather impact alert for later tomorrow. And that all really depends, by the way, when it comes to the activity that we are seeing just to our west. Because there's a lot of scenarios that have to come into play for us to see the same type of impact we're dealing with right now. You can see just out to the west, some more showers, and now we're seeing a little cluster of thunderstorms popping up. If this holds together, once it gets to our general area by early tomorrow morning, it may have an impact as far as the intensity, the instability, the dynamics of the next wave that could potentially come in by the later afternoon hours. If this falls apart by the morning hours and everything remains quiet until we get to the afternoon, then we have that possibility of seeing that same scenario that we're dealing with right now with some very heavy rain, lightning, and some maybe intense wind gusts that could possibly rotate as well. And right now, the time that we're looking at is between 4 and 9 p.m. So make sure that you are receiving those warning alerts. Make sure that you have that Storm Track 8 app. What a great tool it was during the John Deere Classic as far as seeing the rain. You can be interactive with it, zooming in, zooming out, knowing that you can see how the storms have been moving in the past hour or two. You can actually see how those storms are moving in the future as well. Where will those storms go? So that's a great tool to have in those situations, when we are dealing with this type of activity. I guess we're going to go back, John, to what's been going on down in downtown Moline, and let's kind of give everyone an update of what has been taking place here, John.
Yeah, right when the rain started to come down, it came down very quickly, and we saw the roads very quickly just begin to flood. If we have that video, that would be great. See, that's kind of the first video we got. We got this from Morgan Strackbine, who happened to be downtown, and you can just see after, the camera's going to pan down here a little bit, and I think you'll be able to see just how much water there is. And this is, you can see the vibrant there off in the distance. And over the past, let's say, 45 minutes, that water, we've seen it come down just a bit as the rains have subsided, which is good news. But we have also watched a lot of what you're seeing right now, vehicles trying to make their way through the area, but really not able to. They're sort of driving and then saying, oh, I see the water there off in the distance. A few cars have tried to make it through, and we've ended up watching them sort of go in reverse, knowing they can't make it that far. But I do want to point out two vehicles that we've been watching. That white, I think it's a Chrysler there, 300, and then that van off to the right. Those have not moved since we got down there just to take a look at this live shot. And what we've noticed is that the water is coming down. It was a little bit higher on those cars, don't you think, James?
Oh yeah, no question about it. I mean, at least halfway up the tires itself, if not more, that we saw about a half an hour or 40 minutes ago. And that water, which added up to maybe about 3 feet or so, and down, was much more widespread compared to what we're seeing right now. This looks like more of a, what do you think? Maybe just a half a block or so?
I think so.
And we're still seeing some of this fairly high water, but like I said, not a big difference compared to what it was about maybe a half an hour or 40 minutes ago.
Right, and I think that tow truck, by the way, is there for that white car, because you see that white car is there. It has its emergency lights on. Now, certainly, we don't want to speculate as to why it's perhaps needs to be towed.
Right.
But certainly we know that driving through water can cause some problems for you. And Bobby, what was that you just said? Oh, absolutely, yeah. And James, throughout our broadcast here, we've been showing you images that have been sent to us from our viewers. We're very grateful for those. If you have some that you want to share, here are 2 ways that you can do that. You can text them to us. 309-304-0888 is the phone number. Or you can email them to us at news@wqad.com. The other way, and I don't have a graphic for it up here, but is just through the News 8 app or the Storm Track 8 app. And so if you have those downloaded on your phone, James has been talking about the benefit of having those. Those are also ways that you can send us those images and video. Yeah,
well, likely what's going to happen tomorrow, too, is Andrew Stusky on Good Morning Quad Cities will likely give another, probably another weather discussion, severe weather discussion come tomorrow about 9 a.m. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised about that. And likely we'll probably do another one going into tomorrow afternoon if everything plays up to what we've been talking about for later on in the day. Because, like I said, we've got not just only a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings, still got that tornado warning out in areas off to our south and east, just outside of Tuscola, but we got plenty of flash flood warnings that we have, not just in the immediate Quad Cities, but up into our north as well. This is an area where we've seen an average about 4.5 inches of rain from parts of Jackson, Clinton, all of Carroll County, even the northern third quarter of Whiteside County. That's what we've been seeing, about 3 to 5 inches of rain. And even though it's quiet right now, that water is still making its way in rivers, creeks, and streams. So we could be talking about some water kind of piling up in those areas. And something also I want to point out too, and we got another new warning out. Let me get that first. My goodness, it's just popping up. It's breaking my concentration here. Let's get in here real quick, because that does cover parts of Bureau County here. And I'm going to get the query on this. Let's pop that up. Okay, there's that tornado warning. Let's see if I can try to get this in a point where it will just pop up the warning. 11:45 for parts of Kewaunee. We mentioned about Princeton and Spring Valley. So it's kind of replacing that, and we're talking about maybe some penny-sized hail with that. It says it could be as high as a quarter. I think given what we saw, I think we may be talking maybe about penny size or nickel size. And we could be talking about, once again, some pretty good winds coming down from these storms. Really the strongest of these storms, John, is really right around the Kewaunee area. Not just as far as the lightning is concerned, maybe some wind, but certainly some very heavy rain that is taking place right around Kewaunee as that continues to make its way off to the south and east. So certainly numerous warnings that are taking place. Heaviest of the rain is now coming to an end, it looks like, around the immediate Quad Cities, I would say. I'm going to make my way over here. And it looks like they put a warning within a warning almost. Oh, they expanded the warning. They expanded the warning out to Pleasant Valley, to Walcott, Bluegrass, Andalusia, even as close as, looks like just around Cove Valley itself. So let me see if I can, oh boy, let me see if I can get in. John, I'll let you go and
do that, James. I'll talk a little bit about some power outages, and that number just continues to go up. We've been tracking that really since we came on the air with this coverage. It's now up to about, let's say, 580, 590 people. And one of the reasons that we mention all of this is not, if you don't have power right now, you don't need us telling you that, but it does give us a sense of what this storm is causing and some of the issues that it's causing. And sometimes you can almost track the sort of line of power outages as it kind of follows the tail of the storm. And so that's kind of why we mentioned that, although I will say, even though, 590 customers without power is significant, this is not unusual and certainly not the worst that we've seen. We've seen this number be in the thousands to tens of thousands. That certainly is rare. This is a little bit more typical of, I think, of the type of storm that you've been describing so far, James.
Right. I just got the information here that they have expanded those areas as far as the flash flood warning outside of the Quad Cities. You got the immediate Quad Cities. That's until 4:15. Not really a change here. They just expanded it out until 4:30 for that green polygon, that outside green polygon, until 4:30. Okay, so really not too much of a change, but they're concerned that with all that rain that has fallen, that it's going to continue to pile up in some places, in small neighborhoods and such. So in poor drainage areas, that's where we could be noticing some of that high water.
Right.
That's probably why they put that out. So no surprise about that. Yeah, some very heavy rain, the tremendous amount of Gulf moisture that we have out there, and we still have to deal with that same amount of moisture come tomorrow, which will likely may lead to even some more flash flooding if conditions are just right. You can see some more showers and storms now beginning to pop up, areas off to our west. Just some average thunderstorms that are going on just around the Conesville area. That continues to make its way off to the east, southeast or so. But what I want to point out here is the the flood watch, I should say. The flood watch, that's until Saturday at 1 a.m. or late Friday night. And it's all because of that next wave of storms that could potentially make its way across the area. So once again, these are the storms that, I'm sorry about that. Let me move out here. These are the storms that are going to try and make its way eastward. Let's see if those storms just around the western quarter of Iowa, we'll see how these storms kind of hold together, if they do hold together, going into the rest of the night. If these do fall apart, then we have a good chance of seeing some pretty good activity roll on through here going into later tomorrow. And I want to show everyone the future track on that. And this is just one scenario that we see right here. This is around 2:30 in the morning or so. Let me backtrack a little bit here. And it's showing the storms very nicely. The house models have been doing very good of late as far as how these storms have been behaving. So you can see these storms will continue to make their way off to the south and east after midnight, and then kind of lose its coverage a little bit as we make our way into about 5 o'clock in the morning. But then after 5 o'clock, what happens? Do we still, if that does happen, then any more coverage that we see, John, won't happen until later on in the day, right around the peak heating. And this hasn't changed all too much from our house model itself. But you can see that line well off to our west, from Waterloo, just west of Iowa City, and near Ottumwa. I'm going to move this all the way to 4 o'clock in the afternoon and watch the bending that we see here, okay? That kind of tells us that, like we saw in some of our hometowns today, that bending that you see here is an indication we could be talking about some intense wind gusts coming down from these rain-loaded downdrafts that could produce some very heavy rainfall in a very short period of time. And as we go and continue with this motion, it looks like by the time we get to sometime after 7 o'clock or so, we're just going to be dealing with some showers, maybe a few embedded thunderstorms here and there, but nothing severe. That's all going to lead is just some mostly cloudy skies going into the afternoon hours, in the morning hours on Saturday, and likely stay dry as we go into the rest of the weekend. So being a little optimistic, that's kind of what we're looking at going into this weekend. We just have to find out how this next wave is actually going to be taking place around here.
Yeah, and one thing to pay attention to, James, is the timing of it, and just think to yourself at home, what are you going to be doing right around that 4 o'clock hour? Because you don't necessarily want to be caught on the roads with that
Right.
sort of situation, because it becomes more difficult to find a safe place to be if you're on the road. So, not necessarily doesn't necessarily mean you change your plans, but I think it does mean you're aware of where you might be, and do you have the right tools so that you can make a good decision if you do need to leave the house around that time.
Right. I'm pretty confident that by the time we get to Good Morning Quad Cities tomorrow morning, starting at 4:30, the coverage won't be as great. I think the activity that we just showed you out to the west of us, way out here, okay, it's not really moving much at all for one thing. Of course, they're probably dealing with some, I mean, those storms that we're seeing just east of Omaha are just not moving, and likely probably going to see some high water here. But the longevity of this wave is one thing. It's moving very slowly from west to east. It's probably going to fall apart before it really gets here. And that's why I think our model, house model, is showing that we actually will limit any type of activity for a morning rush hour. But the concern may be a different story as we head toward rush hour later tomorrow. Okay, for that possibility of seeing some of those heavy rain-producing thunderstorms that could have some strong winds with it. So that is something that, of course, we'll be monitoring heading into tomorrow. And of course, any details on that even further will come with our Storm Track 8, our News 8 Plus app, where you can actually get a chance to listen in on some of these discussions, even when it comes to getting questions answered as well. We can do that for you on the 8 Plus app when it comes to these weather discussions. And we're likely going to have one come tomorrow morning at around 9 a.m. with Andrew Susky. And if conditions are getting ripe for later tomorrow afternoon in the evening, for the potential of seeing some extreme weather, we'll likely do another 8 Plus app weather discussion, or maybe severe weather discussion, depending on what's going to be taking place, sometime about maybe 3 o'clock or so.
Yeah, and you did one tonight, James.
Pardon me?
You did one tonight.
Yeah, well,
After our newscast.
Given what we were seeing, it was certainly a good idea to kind of let people know, especially north of the Quad Cities, that these storms were producing some pretty good rain.
Right.
And we're still seeing that in even some of our hometowns even today. So you really can't take this lightly when you're dealing with all this water. I know I've had people on my Facebook page who are telling me, we need some rain. We need some rain. Oh, James, we need some rain. Well, we're getting some of that rain, all right, in a pretty big way, unfortunately. And unfortunately, in a very short period of time. So I'll be very concerned about any more high water that may be taking place by the time we get to tomorrow morning. Just given the situations that we're dealing with. Right now, the strongest of these storms that we're noticing is now more south and east of the Quad Cities. No severe weather taking place in the immediate Quad Cities. Still maybe a little bit of rain, a little bit heavy in areas right near I-74 bridge itself. You can see right there making its way out of here, but that will be the last of the rain. This is where we're seeing the strongest line taking place, and you can see the level, the core of the concentration, I should say, of these lightning strikes. Always a good sign, a sign that that's where the heaviest of the activity is taking place. And it's just not the lightning, but it's a very heavy rain that is going on, and even the possible turning of the storm itself that may be going on as well. And that's indicative of that tornado warning that's still going on for a little bit longer. I think this is going to be coming to an end here shortly, I believe, when it comes to this tornado warning. And let me see, I want to make sure here. Yeah, this will be ending here. I don't believe they're going to extend it. In fact, that warning they're going to expire that tornado warning, and that is that's some fairly good news. But you can see how the severe thunderstorm warnings continue on for the possibility of some strong winds and even some hail that can go with it as well. You can see in the Stark County now, that is until midnight for that cluster of storms that have been making its way through Kewaunee itself, continues to make its way off to the south and east. So maybe around Bradford we'll have the best chance of seeing the strongest part of those storms, though it may just graze Tulane and even around Wyoming in Stark County in the next, I would say half an hour or so. And then we've got, of course, this triangular polygon. I don't think you can put triangular and polygon together here. But that warning out until about 11:30. That's for another half an hour or so. A little bending going on here, and that may be indicative of some winds, but certainly don't see much of that. At least when it comes to the velocity mode. So just be on guard when it comes to that. If you're watching us in Rova country, that's in northern Knox County as well, and then extending farther west, just some scattered showers, some with heavy rain, and that extends even farther westward, just south of West Liberty, just north of Columbus Junction, right there around Conesville, seeing some pretty good rain as well. So what we can do here, John, is any more updates that we see, we certainly can let people know on that on the right here on News 8, maybe even on the 8 Plus app as well. But in this case, we can certainly go back to regular programming in this situation. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think so too, James. Yeah, and just so you know, everyone, one more mention here. Make sure you have that News 8 app and the Storm Track 8 app downloaded on your phone so that you can get weather alerts that are very much needed, especially when you're at home asleep. You may not hear a siren, but have that alert right next to you, especially when you know the conditions are right for that being possible.
Yeah.
So always
Absolutely.
a good idea there.
Yeah, especially when it comes to all this heavy rain. I just want to let everyone know that got a report out of Princeton, 4¼ inches of rain.
Oh, man.
Has fallen.
And the timing, and just a short amount of time.
Very short period of time.
Yeah.
I would think maybe about an hour or so. All that rain that fell in a short period of time. So likely some high water taking place in those areas. Yeah.
All right, James. Thank you.